Men do not fall to armies. They fall to the chains they beg me to place upon them. Cleopatra. The air is heavy when you step inside. Not the weight of dust, nor of silence, but the weight of something living, something watching. A torch flares to life, throwing long shadows against walls of ancient stone. In the flicker, you glimpse the first cages, iron bars, thick as a man's arm, bolted into the rock itself. Behind them, a shape shifts. Golden eyes flash for a moment, then vanish into the dark. Somewhere else, a hiss slithers low to the ground. The echo of claws scratches against metal, a welcome to the Menagerie of Weakness. This place is no fantasy. It is a reflection of the world we live in. For every palace, every court, every home is haunted by the beasts that live inside human beings. Vanity, desire, fear, secrets, greed, pride, rage. We tell ourselves we are rational, that we govern our own actions. But the truth, most men are ruled by their beasts. And if you wish to master power, you must learn to master the cages, to peer into a man's soul and see what beast prowls restlessly inside. Because when you discover that one thing he cannot resist, the one pressure he cannot endure, you hold the key to his destiny. This is Law 33. Discover each man's thumbscrew. Pause for a moment and consider this. Have you ever met someone who seemed untouchable? Perhaps they radiated strength, wealth, influence. You told yourself, nothing can break them. But what if you are wrong? What if their armor has a hidden crack? History whispers that it always does. The mighty Roman Emperor Commodus, a man who commanded armies and bore the laurel crown of the Caesars, was nothing more than a child begging for applause. He dressed himself as Hercules, slew lions in the arena, and demanded his empire bow to his vanity. Was this power? Or was this the roaring of a caged lion, desperate to be seen? His enemies did not fight his strength. They fed his beast until it devoured him. And Cleopatra, queen of the Nile, did she build her empire with swords? Number. She knew men better than they knew themselves. Julius Caesar, Mark Antony, titans of Rome, masters of war. And yet their undoing came not from spears or catapults, but from the coils of a serpent far more dangerous. Desire. Cleopatra had discovered their beast. She stroked it until it obeyed her command. Then Samson, the Hebrew judge, the terror of Philistines. His strength could topple cities. His rage could scatter armies. He was a lion in battle. Yet his downfall came from the softest of touches. A woman's hand, stroking his hair, whispering in his ear. Delilah did not need to fight him. She only needed to press upon his weakness, and the wolf within him turned on its master. Do you see the pattern? It does not matter how grand the stage of history. It does not matter whether the figure wears a crown, wields a sword, or carries the strength of 100 men. Their destruction never comes from where they are strong. It always comes from where they are weak. That is the essence of this law, to see what others miss. To search not for the armor, but for the tender flesh beneath it. Not for the fortress walls, but for the single crack in the foundation. To find the beast and tame it. But beware, this knowledge cuts both ways. Because while you seek another's beast, someone may already be stalking yours. What weakness do you hide in your own cage? What hunger, what fear, what secret could someone use to twist your fate? You must learn to guard it, even as you exploit it in others. Now listen carefully. As we walk deeper into the menagerie, each cage will reveal a lesson. A lion pacing behind bars, a serpent coiling in the dark, a wolf snarling with hunger. Their stories echo through history, and their shadows still move in our world today. The torch burns lower, the iron doors crack open. It is time to enter the first cage. The torchlight flickers against the first cage, iron bars thick as tree trunks, a shadow pacing within. A growl echoes through the chamber, rolling low, like thunder building in the distance. Step closer. Look. A lion waits. Its mane gleams, its eyes blaze, its every step demands your gaze. This is not just any beast. This is the lion of Vanity, and its chosen prisoner is Rome's emperor, Commodus, the heir of a philosopher king. Commodus was born into a world that worshipped Rome's philosopher-emperor, Marcus Aurelius. His father, revered for his wisdom, was a man who spent sleepless nights writing reflections on duty, discipline, and the fleeting nature of power. His meditations taught, waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. Yet as Marcus campaigned along the freezing Danube, fighting to keep barbarians at bay, his son Commodus lived in luxury, untested, unscarred. The empire expected another philosopher king. Instead, they received a child of appetite. Commodus was crowned co-emperor at just 16. When his father died in 180 AD, he inherited not only Rome's crown, but also its crushing weight. And here, in this burden, the lion awoke. For Commodus did not seek wisdom or justice or military glory. He wanted one thing above all else, to be adored. The Senate despised him for it. Rome's nobility expected emperors to uphold the dignity of state. Yet Commodus, intoxicated by vanity, stripped himself of dignity in exchange for spectacle. He entered the gladiatorial arena dressed in lion skins, wielding the club of Hercules. He declared himself the living incarnation of the demigod. He demanded the people address him not as Caesar, but as Roman Hercules. Picture it, the emperor of the greatest empire on earth, stepping into the blood-stained sand, surrounded by slaves, criminals, and gladiators. To him, it was glory. To Rome's elite, it was humiliation. And worse still, the fights were a farce. Commodus never risked himself. His opponents' weapons were dulled, their courage broken before they even entered the ring. He slaughtered wounded soldiers, crippled men, and even tied animals. And yet, he demanded thunderous applause. Each kill was an act of theater, staged to feed the lion roaring inside him. But applause is expensive. Commodus drained Rome's treasury on games and spectacles. He taxed the empire harshly to fund endless festivals, renaming months of the calendar after himself. He even renamed Rome itself, calling it Colonia Commodiana, the colony of Commodus. The senators watched in disgust. Generals muttered in silence. The empire's strength waned while its ruler obsessed over the sound of cheering crowds. And here lies the cunning truth. When a man's weakness is vanity, the path to his favor is simple. Flatter him, praise him, play to the beast, and he is yours. The Senate fed him honors, hollow titles, meaningless tributes, knowing that behind the curtain of glory, real power slipped from his hands. But flattery is a double-edged sword. Stroke the lion too much, and it grows blind. Commodus came to believe he was untouchable, that no one could dare oppose the living Hercules. It was in this blindness that his enemies struck. First, his own inner circle. His mistress, Marcia, poisoned his food. but vomited it out. Then his wrestling partner was sent into his chamber. Commodus, the self-proclaimed Hercules, who strutted before roaring crowds, was strangled in silence by a common athlete. The lion had been tamed, its mane, once dazzling, matted with filth, its roar silenced forever. This is the law in motion. Commodus did not fall to the strength of Rome's enemies. He fell to the weakness inside himself. His vanity was the leash that bound him, the key that unlocked his cage. And vanity is not confined to emperors. It prowls everywhere, in politicians desperate for applause, in artists who cannot live without recognition, in the everyday man who swells with pride at the smallest flattery. Their strength becomes their weakness. Their lion can always be led. So ask yourself, when you look at those around you, do you see their lions? Do you see who cannot live without being admired? And more dangerously, do you hear the growl of the lion in yourself? The first cage has been opened. The lion has taught its lesson. But listen. A hiss now echoes deeper in the menagerie. The serpent stirs. The lion's roar fades behind you, swallowed by the long stone corridor. Ahead, the air shifts. Warmer, heavy with scent. A torch flickers, and you hear it. A hiss, low, silken, almost hypnotic. The next cage looms. Inside, coils move in the shadows, winding and unwinding, smooth as water. Two eyes glimmer like emeralds. This is no beast of brute strength. This is the serpent of desire. Its prisoner is none other than the Queen of the Nile, Cleopatra the Seventh. Cleopatra's name is legend. To some, she was a temptress who seduced Rome's greatest men. To others, she was a strategist, a ruler who wielded charm as ruthlessly as a sword. But beneath the myth lies the law. She knew every man had his beast, and for men of power, that beast was often desire. Born into the crumbling Ptolemaic dynasty, Cleopatra's throne was shaky from the start. Civil wars brewed. Siblings plotted against her. Egypt, once the jewel of the ancient world, now bent beneath Rome's shadow. But Cleopatra possessed something rarer than armies or gold, an unrivaled understanding of human weakness. She knew how to find the serpent in a man's soul, and once she found it, she coiled around it until he could no longer breathe without her. In 48 BC, Cleopatra took her greatest gamble. She smuggled herself into Julius Caesar's palace rolled inside a carpet. When unrolled, the young queen appeared before Rome's most powerful general, not in armor but in silk, eyes glinting, voice soft. Caesar, conqueror of Gaul, master of legions, stood face to face with a woman who made herself both vulnerable and irresistible. And in that instant, she found his serpent. Desire, not for mere pleasure, but for legacy, for eternity. Cleopatra promised him both, her body, her throne, and Egypt's riches, all entwined in his vision of empire. Caesar succumbed. He restored her throne, fathered her child, and let his reputation in Rome be poisoned by whispers of Eastern luxury. Senators muttered of the general bewitched by a foreign queen, but Cleopatra had no need to care. She had Caesar in her coils. When Caesar fell to assassins' blades, many expected Cleopatra to crumble. Instead, she shed her skin and found another serpent to entwine. Mark Antony. Antony was Rome's lion in war, but in his heart coiled a weakness. He craved grandeur, indulgence, pleasure. Cleopatra fed him all three. She sailed to meet him on a golden barge, sails of purple silk, oars of silver, the air perfumed with incense. Antony, who had faced down enemies on 100 battlefields, was conquered not by arms but by awe, and she became his obsession. Together they drank, feasted, and drowned in excess. But behind the revelry, Cleopatra tightened her coils. Antony's decisions bent toward Egypt. His loyalty shifted from Rome to her. Octavian, Antony's rival, did not need to fight Cleopatra directly. He needed only to let the serpent squeeze. When the time came, Antony abandoned strategy, abandoned Rome, and fought for Cleopatra. At Actium, his forces collapsed. In the aftermath, the once great general, strangled by desire, took his own life. Cleopatra followed soon after. The serpent's coils had tightened until nothing remained. Cleopatra's story is often told as seduction, but seduction is only the surface. What she truly mastered was discovery. She sought out the hidden serpent of desire in each man and wrapped herself around it until he obeyed. Desire is one of the oldest and most dangerous beasts in the menagerie. It blinds judgment, it clouds ambition, it whispers promises of immortality, pleasure, and fulfillment, while coiling tighter and tighter. Julius Caesar, Antony, even Rome itself, all became entangled in Cleopatra's coils. Ask yourself, where does desire slither in those around you? Is it wealth, flesh, glory, comfort? And just as important, where does it slither in you? For the serpent is patient. It waits in silence until the moment you are weakest. The serpent withdraws into the shadows now, coils vanishing from sight. But deeper in the menagerie, another sound stirs. Heavier, harsher. A growl that is not vanity, not seduction, but something darker. The wolf is waiting. The serpent slithers back into the shadows, and the path grows colder. The air is thick with musk, heavy, suffocating. Your torch trembles in your grip as a low growl vibrates through the stone. Ahead, a cage of black iron rattles. Eyes gleam in the dark, feral and relentless. A wolf paces inside, its breath steaming, its claws scraping the floor. This is no beast of vanity, no serpent of seduction. This is the wolf of desire and fear, and its prisoner is a man who is said to be unstoppable, until someone found his cage. Samson. Samson's story begins not in triumph, but in prophecy. The book of Judges tells of a barren woman visited by an angel who declared her son would be a Nazirite, consecrated to God from birth, never to drink wine, never to cut his hair, never to betray his vow. In exchange, he would wield supernatural strength to free Israel from the Philistines. For decades, the Philistines had oppressed Israel. Their warriors controlled the cities. Their merchants drained the land's wealth. The people cried out for deliverance, and in Samson, they believed deliverance had come. He was their lion, their avenger, their champion. Samson's exploits became legend. He tore apart a lion with his bare hands, its carcass left rotting by the roadside. Later, bees swarmed in the ribcage, producing honey. From this, Samson spun a riddle, mocking his enemies. Out of the eater, something to eat. Out of the strong, something sweet. When betrayed at his wedding feast, he captured 300 foxes, tied their tails together in pairs, fastened torches, and set them loose in Philistine fields. Fire devoured the crops, leaving the land barren. Armed with nothing but the jawbone of a donkey, Samson slaughtered 1,000 Philistines in battle, their corpses littering the dust. And in one of his most brazen acts, he ripped the gates of Gaza from their hinges, massive wooden doors reinforced with bronze, and carried them on his shoulders to the top of a hill. No fortress could hold him, no army could stop him. He was a man who seemed above all weakness, but that is always the illusion. The stronger the fortress, the more hidden its crack. Samson's true weakness was not in his arms or in his hair. It was in his heart. He craved women, Philistine women most of all. To his people, this was folly. To Samson, it was irresistible. Desire prowled inside him like a wolf, hungering, pacing, and with desire came its shadow, fear. Fear of losing the affection of the very women who ensnared him. This is the nature of the wolf. It is not satisfied with strength, with conquest, with honor. It feeds on intimacy, on reassurance, on love. And once someone discovers that hunger, they hold the leash. The Philistines knew they could not kill Samson in open battle, so they turned to cunning. They sent Delilah. Delilah did not come with sword or spear. She came with questions, with persistence, with a soft hand and a patient voice. Night after night, she asked Samson, "Tell me the secret of your great strength." At first, Samson toyed with her. He wrapped himself in lies. "Bind me with bowstrings," he told her, "and I will become as weak as any man." The Philistines rushed in, but Samson snapped the cords like threads. Again Delilah pressed him. Again he lied. "Weave my hair into a loom, and I will be powerless." Again she tested him, and again he broke free. But the wolf within was stirring. Samson did not fear Philistines. He feared Delilah's rejection. Each time she accused him, "How can you say you love me when your heart is not with me?" And each time, his resolve weakened. At last, exhausted, haunted by the wolf of fear, Samson broke. He revealed his truth. "No razor has ever touched my head, for I have been a Nazirite to God since birth. If my hair is shaved, my strength will leave me." In that moment, Samson's fortress crumbled. He had given away his soul, not to an enemy general, not to a Philistine king, but to the woman he could not resist. Delilah waited until he slept. She called for a servant. The razor whispered across his scalp. His locks fell, and with them the power of heaven departed. When the Philistines stormed in, Samson rose to fight, but his arms felt heavy, his body weak. They seized him, gouged out his eyes, and chained him in bronze fetters. The line of Judah was reduced to a blinded ox, grinding grain in prison. In the temple of Dagon, the Philistines paraded him as a trophy. Children spat at him, nobles mocked him, priests jeered. The once mighty warrior was now a symbol of humiliation. But the wolf, even broken, still hungers. In his final act, Samson prayed for one last surge of strength. He braced his hands against the temple's pillars and pulled. The stone cracked, the roof groaned, and the entire temple collapsed, crushing rulers and worshippers alike. Samson died with his enemies, avenging himself in ruin. And here lies the truth of the menagerie. Samson's thumbscrew was never his hair. His hair was only the symbol. His true weakness was deeper, the wolf of desire, gnawing at his heart, and the fear of losing what he craved. This is why he yielded. This is why he betrayed himself. Strength of body means nothing when the beast of desire rules the soul. Think of the countless echoes across time, kings undone by mistresses, generals blinded by infatuation, leaders who bent laws, squandered kingdoms, even abdicated thrones. all because they could not master the wolf within. The wolf does not ask politely, it devours, and once it tastes fear, it will not let go. The torchlight dims as you step away from the cages. The lion, the serpent, the wolf. Their roars, hisses, and growls fade into the distance. In the silence, the caper's voice returns, steady, deliberate. What have you seen in this menagerie? Not just beasts, not just stories of fallen rulers. You have seen the shapes of weakness that live in every human soul. They take many forms, but they belong to the same family, the family of thumbscrews. Vanity is pride that demands to be fed. Commodus could not live without applause. Praise became his leash. The vain are predictable. Flatter them, and they bend. Insult them, and they lash out blindly. Either way, you control them. But vanity is not only in emperors. It is in the colleague who needs constant recognition, the friend who thrives on compliments, the leader who cannot bear to be ignored. Once you see their lion, you hold their leash. Desire is the hunger that blinds judgment. Cleopatra coiled around the cravings of Caesar and Antony until they mistook obsession for destiny. Desire can be for flesh, for wealth, for status, for comfort. Once discovered, it becomes a chain. The serpent does not fight you openly. It waits until you expose your hunger. Then it squeezes, and by the time you realize it is too late, fear is the most primal of beasts. Samson feared losing Delilah's affection more than he feared losing his strength. That fear drove him to confess the secret that destroyed him. The wolf prowls in the heart of every man. Fear of abandonment, fear of humiliation, fear of being unloved. Those who discover it can break even the strongest. The wolf does not whisper, it devours. Greed, the beast that is never satisfied. Secrets, the beast that traps a man in webs of silence. Pride, the beast that refuses to admit weakness, even when bleeding. Each man, each woman, hides at least one of these creatures within. To deny it is to be blind. The true art of power is not brute force, but perception. Look beyond the armor. Listen beyond the words. Watch where men flinch, where they hesitate, where they hunger. There lies the thumbscrew. But never forget, as you search for another's beast, someone may already be searching for yours. Guard it. Mask it. Never let them see where your lion prowls, where your serpent coils, where your wolf howls. The halls grow silent. The last torch flickers, casting your shadow long against the stone. Behind you, the cages remain, the lion still pacing, the serpent still coiling, the wolf still growling in the dark. But the keeper speaks one last time. Remember what you have seen here. Power is not in the crowns of emperors, nor the armies of generals, nor the miracles of prophets. Power lies in perception, in seeing the beast inside another man and knowing how to touch it. Vanity, desire, fear, secrets, pride, greed. These are the true rulers of men. They have toppled empires, broken heroes, and humbled gods. Every man, every woman carries a cage within. And if you have the patience, the cunning, the eyes to see, you will discover their thumbscrew. But beware, the menagerie does not only belong to others, it belongs to you. What beast paces inside your soul? What hunger, what terror, what vanity waits for someone cunning enough to press upon it? You must guard your cage as fiercely as you exploit another's. For the law cuts both ways. The doors of the menagerie close, the beasts fade into silence, and as you walk back into the world, the keeper leaves you with a whisper. Like, subscribe, comment, or don't. You are the master of your own life.